Hey Flight Simmers, welcome to a new episode on my channel. Some of you are waiting for this video for a long time, but I finally managed to finish the frame for the overhead panel. In this video I will show you how to do the full assembly of the overhead panel. Before we start with assembly, let's have a closer look on the overall construction of the frame. Basically it's all resting on a piece of plywood. I use a 10mm piece of plywood. On this plywood there are some pillars I mounted. This one is for the inner segments and this for the outside. And in this pillar there are two pockets, and in this pocket I insert some self-locking nuts M4, and then I will close the pocket with a little bit of hot glue. And on top of the pillar there is a rail. It's a square piece of aluminum. It's a tube, 1mm of thickness, and on this tube there are some cages for M4 self-locking nuts again, and all the panels are resting on these nut cages and screwed all the way through the tube into the nut that's sitting below the tube. It's a quite common design I use a lot. So just a pocket from the side, a self-locking nut in there, close the pocket with some hot glue, and it's a very easy design, but it's very effective. And as I said, all the panels are resting on these nut cages. These nut cages have a tight fit on the rail, so when the overhead panel is mounted in the frame, so this will be the lower side, and I will remove one of the panels, the nut cages will stay in place. So therefore I have designed a rather tight fit, and as you can see, through the pipe there is a hole, and the screws going all the way through the tube into the nut cage. Okay, and underneath there is a round tube, 6mm in diameter. It's just to add a little bit more stiffness to the overall frame, and later when all the panels are mounted to the frame I will use these tubes to fix all the wires with some zip ties to this aluminum tube, so it's just not that messy inside this frame. The pillars are mounted with some basic screws with a hex head. This hex head is fitting into the pillar and secured from underneath with a washer and a self-locking nut. It's M6, all the screws, and the length is depending on the piece of wood you are using. So in my case it's M6 by 30. Okay, and this is basically the overall design. The screws, to cover the screws later, I have designed these little screw caps, and you can push these ones directly onto the screw, and it looks more like the original cockpit than the screws I'm using here. Now you know what it's all about today. I will not show the design of the pillars. They are free to download. Just follow the link in the description. There you will find a parts list of the whole frame as well. Before we start, this video was shot over several days because I made a very time-consuming mistake. It was very annoying, more on that later. But in the beginning of this video you won't see the fire panel and these empty panels. When I made the mistake, it took some days to fix it, and in the meantime I managed to do the design of the fire panel and those empty panels. As I said, the pillars are free to download. For all my supporters on Patreon, I made a huge bundle with all the STL files for the entire overhead panel. So if you want to support this channel, just visit my page on Patreon. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell. But for now, let's go finally to the assembly of the overhead panel. All right, let's get started. So here I have a piece of plywood, 10 millimeters in thickness. It's 670 by 600 millimeters. This is a regular piece of plywood, but use whatever you got. It doesn't matter. So as you can see, I already drew some lines on this piece of plywood, and these two lines are the reference for the inner segments of the overhead panel. So it marks the boundary of all the inner segments. And I will use these two lines as a reference. And at first I will start to place all the panels at the right spot so that I can mark all the mounting holes. For the lower panel, it's already assembled, and I don't want to disassemble this one just to create the assembly, but the hydraulics and fuel panel, it has the same dimensions and the mounting holes are matching. So as a reference, this panel is just fine. Just align it on the lower edge of the plate like this. Now just mark the boundary of this one. Then for the placement itself, I want to have a little bit or a little gap between all the panels, and for this I'm using some old pieces of credit cards, millimeter in thickness. It's perfect. So just place it right in between. Draw the next line. And again, the next one. Okay, the fire panel isn't finished yet, so I will leave this space empty right now. But now I have set up all the other panels in the right location. Now let's go on with the outer part. For the ADIRS panel, it's already assembled, so just will mark the outer boundary like this. And then just use a regular panel to link the two markings. Like this. So it hasn't to be absolutely accurate. It's just a reference where the panels be placed later on. Alright, now I have all my markings of the individual panels. Now the next step will be to mark all the mounting holes, because later I want to have these pillars sit right in between the mounting holes of the panels so that there is no collision. And for this I will mark all the mounting holes. For this I'll just put all the panels back in position. Okay, for marking the mounting holes, I will use just a regular drill bit for wood with this little tip in front and just push it into the plywood. Now I have these 4 markings. I don't know if you can see it on screen, but here are 4 little markings. It's just totally fine just to have a reference where the mounting holes are placed. For the ADIRS, I will use just the flight control panel, because on the lower side the mounting holes are the same difference from the edge. Okay, now I marked all the mounting holes of the panels, and now I want to place all the pillars right in between these mounting holes. So let's have a look on how to place these ones. So on the lower side it's pretty easy. So I want to have some pillars right on the lower edge. Then would be nice to have one in the middle. So here it's a little bit crowdy with the mounting holes. So maybe I will place one here or here, and then in between the mounting holes of the fire panel. Or just use 2 of the pillars on this side. So I will place one here, one here, on this side, over here. So keep in mind that on the free sections right now there will be some empty panels, but I can control the size of these empty panels later on. So I will have one here. Well, let's go to the same height, but there will be the upper edge of the fire panel. So maybe would be a little bit smarter place it like here and here. The fire panel will be approximately the same size as the elec panel. Okay, this should fit in there. Okay, one pillar over here, one here. Let's put one here in the middle and one right here. So now I marked the positions of the inner pillars, and for the outer ones it's a little bit easier. Over here, one here, and here on the same height. Here as well. One here and here. So this will be the positions of the pillars. Alright, now for drilling the mounting holes of the pillars, I have to drill for the inner pillars 2 holes, for the outer just 1 hole. But for the position of the holes, I created a little drilling jig for the placement of the holes. So I inserted some aluminum tubes, 8 millimeters in diameter, 1 millimeter of wall thickness. So on the inside there's a 6 millimeter drill perfectly fitting in, and I will use this drill jig to drill all the holes of the pillars, the inner and the outer as well. And for guiding this drill jig, I'm using the square tube I will use later in the pillars for mounting the panels. It's cut to 600 millimeters, and I got these little screw clamps that fits perfectly in the hole of the aluminum tube. So it's perfect to clamp it onto my desk, but use whatever you got to fix this aluminum rail into place. Line it up with the outer line that's already marked on the plywood. Alright, now it's clamped down, and this will be the guidance for my drilling jig. Good. Now I'm using a regular 6mm drill for metal. It fits perfectly into the aluminum tubes, and I will not damage the plastic of the drilling jig, and have a little bit more guidance in the height. And now just move the drilling jig until the markings are aligned with the holes of the jig, and then just mark. I will not drill fully through this plywood because I will damage my desk. So just mark it and I will drill it later. For now, just 2mm deep. Like this. So these are the mounting holes for the inner pillar. For the outer one, just move it until it's lined up with my marking on the outer side. And now let's do this all over the place. Okay, on the left side, all holes are there. So now let's do it on the other side. Just move the rail to the other side, line it up and drill the other holes. And again, just move the jig to the right spot. Okay, let's place another pillar over here. Okay, now I have the mounting holes for 3 pillars on the left and right side and on the inner side. And the next step is to drill all the holes all the way through the plywood. I will not do it in here in my studio, otherwise my wife will kill me. I will go outside, drill the holes, and see you in a minute. Now all the holes are drilled, and I actually drilled 8mm holes because I'm using M6 hex screws, just to have a little gap in between when it's necessary to move the pillars a little bit. It's easier with a slightly larger hole. So it's 8mm in diameter. For mounting the pillars, just as I said, I'm using hex screws that fits perfectly into the pillar. From there, as you can see, there's a little angle. This is totally flat, and on the left side there's an angle of a few degrees, and this is always the outside. So place it like this. On the outer ones, just place the screw. It's just one screw. For mounting the rail into the pillar, I'm using regular nuts that I place into these sockets over here, and then just close the pocket with a little bit of hot glue. Then it's prevented that the nut is falling out of the pocket. Then just place all the pillars, and from the back side will use a washer and a self-locking nut. It's M6. So now I'm placing, I will mount all the pillars. So I will speed up the video or just do a cut and see you in a minute. Okay, for me several minutes gone by, for you just a second. I mounted all the pillars, but I haven't fully tightened the nuts, because before I do this I want to insert the aluminum rods between the pillars. This adds a little bit more strength to the overall construction, and I'm able to fix all the wires later on with some zip ties on the rail. So just for cleaning the overall construction a little bit. If it's a little bit too tight to insert the rod, just use a 6mm drill to open or to clean the mounting hole. Okay, the round aluminum rods are in place. Now, before I fully tighten up all the nuts on the backside, I already tightened the outer nuts a little bit. So it's already fixed, but I'm able to move it around a little bit. Before I fully tighten the nuts, just insert two of those square rails and check if the outer dimension fits the panel. Okay, now it lines up perfectly with the panel. And now fully tighten the inner pillars. Okay, for the outer pillars, do the same. Just add one of those square rails. And the same on the other side. All right, the next step is to fix all the square aluminum rails. Just place it inside the pillars, and the outer edges should line up with the edge of the plywood. Okay, and now I have to fix these rails. I will use M4 screws, and as I told you already, inside the pillars there are two pockets for a nut, and then I will drill holes into the aluminum and just screw it directly onto the pillar. For this we'll drill two holes inside, or just on one spot one hole, but on the bottom it's 4 millimeters, and on top I will drill 8 millimeters, so the screw will be hidden inside this profile. For drilling the holes, I'm using another drilling jig, this one, again with a little piece of tube. It's a 6 millimeter tube, like the one on the bottom, to give it a little bit more strength. It's 6 millimeter in diameter, 1 millimeter in thickness, so my 4 millimeter drill will fit perfectly into this tube, and it prevents the drilling jig from damage. And the idea behind this drilling jig is just to place it over the pillar like this, and now I have the right spot and mark the hole. Again, like I did with the plywood, for now I will just mark the position like this. Now you can see a little marking, and I will do it outside, not in my studio. Okay, this is just an example for one rail. Now I marked these three positions on the rail. It's every time the same on the remaining rails, so I just show it on one rail. So I marked the position, then I will drill the 4 millimeter right through this whole profile, and then just open up the upper part of the rail with 8 millimeters. So if you're not familiar with drilling aluminum, so there are some tips. So if you use a regular drill or a countersink, for example, like this one, it will happen pretty quickly that the grooves on the drill get stuck with material from the aluminum. To prevent this, just use a little bit of isopropanol alcohol. It prevents the grooves from filling up with aluminum. So just add a drop of alcohol and then drill the hole. Now both are drilled all the way through the tube. And for opening up the upper side of the rail, I want to have an 8mm hole, but I would not recommend to use an 8mm drill. Instead, use a countersink like this one. Okay, this is a little bit too large. Or a step drill like this one, because if you're using a regular drill, it will pull it directly into the profile at the point it will come through the material. So it's pretty dangerous. So to open up the hole, either use a countersink with a right diameter or a step drill like this. Again, use a little bit of alcohol. Okay, and now let's do all the same process over and over again on the remaining spots. For the other rails, again, just place the drill jig, mark the positions, and after that just drill all the holes and open it up with either a countersink or a step drill. Okay, now I'm back and all the holes in the rails are drilled, and as you can see on top it's an 8.4mm hole, so the screw goes right into it, but on the lower side it's just a 4mm hole, so perfect for the screw. I'm using M4 by 12 screws, and now I will fix the rails temporarily because I have to remove them again. So just apply one screw on each rail. Okay, and now all what's left is to drill the holes for the panels. And for this I will show it on the inside how to drill the holes, and again it's every time the same process. I will start with this lower panel and align it to the bottom edge of the plywood, and then clamp it down with a screw clamp. Okay, the lower panel is fixed in place, and the idea is to use another drill jig, again with a little piece of aluminum tube, and I will use it to mark the mounting holes. It fits right into the pocket of the panel with this little notch, and in there I just Again, just give it a little marking on the aluminum tube. It's not possible to hit the center line directly, so I will just do the marking like this, and later when all the markings are in place, I will use my second jig, move it into the right spot just by watching through the hole, and then there drill the hole all the way through the tube. For this I'm removing all the tubes again. So now the first holes are in place. So for the remaining panels, I will use the next panel again with this little piece of old credit card or what you got, just for a little bit, for a little gap in between the panels. Like this, and I will already clamp this one. And now I have to move the screw clamps on the lower panel. Like this, and now I'm able to drill 4 holes at once. Okay, and now just remove the lower clamps, pick the next panel, and this process is repeating over and over again until you reached the top of the middle segment, and do the same process on the right and the left side. I will do this and skip this part and see you in a second when all the markings are done. Okay, the marking is done, and now I will use my drill jig for all the holes. Just have a look through the pipe until you see the marking on the tube. Drill the hole with 4 millimeters, and after that I will open up the hole with 8 millimeters like this one, just to have a little gap to move the panels around a little bit. So I will drill all the holes and see you in a second. Okay guys, now several days have passed because I made a huge mistake when I drilled all the holes into the aluminum tube. So what happened. You have to be very careful which of the holes you are opening up to a larger diameter, because I drilled all the holes to the larger diameter, including all the mounting holes for the screws that are fixing the rail to the pillar. So very annoying. I had to drill all the tubes again. I went back to the hardware store, bought some new tubes, cut it to length and drilled all the holes again. It's not that expensive, but it's pretty annoying, so please be careful. The second time I made all the holes again. First I drilled all the mounting holes for the pillars, and before I drilled the holes for the panels, I just taped all the mounting holes just to prevent that I drill these holes again to the larger diameter. So pretty annoying. Please don't do this mistake. But now I recreated all the tubes again, and in the meantime, as you can see, I designed some empty panels to finish the whole overhead panel, and in addition to that, I designed the fire panel as well. So I drilled some more holes for the fire panel and the empty panels on this side. It's the same procedure as all the other panels, just add some additional holes to it. The fire panel itself, for now I don't have designed the large fire buttons, but it doesn't matter. These will be some separate modules I will just attach from the backside later on. But now I have the fire panel, and I'm ready to finish the whole overhead panel. For now, I already fed all the nut cages onto the aluminum tubes, and now all that's left is to mount the last remaining tube to the pillar on the side, attach all the panels to the frame, and after that I will just cut the aluminum tubes on the front and on the back to length, so I don't have any excess tube in the front and in the back, and then this panel is almost finished. All right, now I trimmed all the tubes on the back side and in the front, and I trimmed the base plate as well. Now it's in the original size of the overhead panel. What's left is to apply the screw caps, but I will not apply all the caps onto the screw heads because I have to dismount all the panels anyway to do the full assembly of each panel. So for now, I'm finished. There we are. Today we made a huge step forward to finish the overhead panel. What's left to do is to do the assembly of most of the panels, add all the Cori switches, potentiometers and so on. For this, currently I'm waiting for a delivery because I made some changes to the Cori switches. More on this in one of the next episodes, so please stay tuned. As I said, the printing data for the pillars are available under the link in the description. A parts list of the whole frame as well. For all supporters on Patreon, all the panels are available to download and to print. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell. But for now, I hope to see you in the next video.